2, 1. All right, 3, 2, 1. Hello, Hanson. How are you, sir?
What's up, brother? Good to see you.
Good to see you. How have you been?
I mean, crushing it. Yeah, doing really, really well on my end. Really happy.
Dude, you're doing so many things, right? So many things at the same time. That's a fantastic success. So thank you for jumping in. Tell me a little bit about how has your self-master journey been? Why did you sign up in the beginning?
I signed up in the beginning because number one, I knew I wasn't operating at my peak functionality. At the time, my sleep was terrible. I, was trying to work as much as I could, but I was highly ineffective. I'd work a couple hours max a day. And I felt like I had I had 2 businesses. I'm working on my personal brand. I felt like I had so much going on. I couldn't break past a plateau. And it's that feeling of just, being, it's like you're trying to swim, but you're just like barely keeping your head above water. So I felt like I was about to start drowning. And so I was referred to you by my friend Dakota Robertson, and he's a well-respected online entrepreneur. And it was, I've never really invested into myself a lot in terms of something that's not just like hiring another person for my business, but actually learning skills. And Dakota was telling me about your program, where it was like, dude, this guy teaches you systems for everything, systems for business, systems for your personal life, systems for relationships, systems for like keeping your mental state super peak. And that really hit to me because everything that I'm like focused on is building systems in my business, but I never thought about applying systems to every area of my life. So that one sentence right there made this, so I was like, shit, I gotta meet Leon and figure out what he's doing, because this sounds like it's like just made for me.
Got it. And we had a fantastic time together in the beginning, because I remember that you didn't really know what to expect, because this personal systems thing is not something that gets discussed a lot. And then we started training you on spirituality, on mental training, on physiology, on strategy, on execution. And you were like, whoa, that's more than I thought, right? How was your first reaction when we started working together?
Oh man, it was like hitting the ground running, right? So I came to you because I just didn't know what to do, and I thought you would help me with 1 or 2 tactics. But what you helped me do was you changed my way of thinking into how we can work from the goal of what we want, work backwards, and remove the results that we get on a day-to-day, because I was like, my sales are low, or I feel like, and those were outputs of a system that I've set up. And when you framed that for me, I was like, holy shit. So if I just designed a system with you and then just focus on the inputs, the outputs are inevitable. So it's very empowering, right? Because if you remember I was making okay money, but I was still financially stressed. And every time I had to make a payment, I was stressed. And knowing that like I'm focusing my energy on the output that was from a previous like poorly designed system, and shifting that energy into focusing on the inputs that would just basically 10x my inputs on a well-designed system would 10x my outputs, and not worry about the outputs. That was very empowering. That was one of the most empowering things I've learned in my entire life, that I'm now applying in every area, but also teaching my employees. So yeah, right when we first started, the first session, you just tapped in. You could pinpoint what was the thing that I had the most anxiety about, which is money. And then we just like basically unraveled the onions of why that was keeping me in. And then you logically helped me just rework why I was feeling that and what I could do to not feel that. So that was really powerful.
Oh, fantastic. I remember you had because you obviously applied very quickly what we discussed in the first call, which was great, right? Literally after the first conversation, you start making changes. And I recall that you had quite a great month, the following month. So you had a revenue increase just by shifting your mindset to design the perfect system. Because as we say, you're only literally 3 things away outside of your goal. 1 is knowing what it is. 2 is designing the system that can get you there. And 3, becoming a good system operator to make that shift happen, right? So what happened right after we first spoke, and how did you reorganize first the business side, but I'm also very interested in the becoming the system operator kind of thing. Tell me a little bit about revenue wise, but also your personal life, how those two interrelate.
So revenue side, I'm always the most excited to talk about, just because, you know, as business owners, that's a key KPI that we look at. And so coming in, working with you, I think I was doing around 30,000 on average a month with my business. And then 2 months, I don't remember if I shared this with you, but 2 months after, I hit my biggest month ever, like in my entire life. So I hit 80,000 a month that month in July. So maybe it was 4 months after you. I don't know. I don't remember when I joined, but it was in July of 2023. I hit 80,000. And that was like, man, you know, I was like at dinner with my best friend and his wife and my wife, and we were talking, and I was like, dude, I just had the biggest month. It was one of those months where it's not like a 10% increase. It was like, you know, from 30,000 to 80,000. It's a really big mind shift for me, where I'm like, dude, I should be doing 100,000 consistently. I could be like 200,000 a month is not out of the, you know, not so far away, unreachable for me now. And so that mental shift. And so I attribute that to building the right systems and then flooding it with input, like we discussed. And I was like, holy shit, I could just push this thing. So that was, you know, I knew it's one of those things, like when you first meet someone, you're like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about, but then you execute it and you're like, holy shit, like I'm getting the results too. It's just like, okay, I had no doubt, but when you see it, you're like, now I believe it works for me. You know what I mean? So that was the best feeling.
Dude, I love you sharing this, because this really shines a light on my personal philosophy, and you're of course living proof of it, which is the fact that our brain computes reality linearly, right? But the changes are exponential because our universe is systematic. This is something we discussed in the program. So how do we bridge the gap between us thinking in terms of linearly? So we think we're doing 10K a month and we believe 20K a month is like, dude, it's so hard. I need to double it. Like, how the fuck do I double it? It's all complicated. How do we bridge the gap between, dude, I really think I deserve 100K. How do I do it? By designing that system, operating that system, and letting feedback loop fit it. So, because when we, with people high level, say, dude, I just want to, like, I want to like break past 100K. I've been in 50K. It's just, I've been 2 years at this. And the question it becomes, what's the system you have for doubling the business? What do you mean? Like, everybody understands the concept of systems in order to, customer satisfaction or whatever, but not thinking systematically and how to adjust everything so that it gives you your goal. Because when you think that way, it's just a matter of time. It depends on how fast you can implement feedback loops to get what you want. And that applies to your business, to your family, to your health, to your mental state, to your spiritual life. It applies to everything, because everything is just a system, a relationship between cause and effect, inputs and outputs. And once you see it, that's a cool thing. You cannot unsee it. Now you don't see, you tell me, but do you now see life like a random collection of events happening to you?
No, it's immediately my mind defaults on like, all right, this is a result that is not my desired result. And so you can easily just backtrack it on like, all right, is there a system in place? Obviously, no. If there's something that you don't resolve, there's a very poor system in place, or there's nothing at all. It's just like by chance. So you can design a system around that. Like one thing that impacted me was I was talking to you about like, hey, I want to meet new people, and you're like, design a system for that. I'm like, how do you design a system for meeting other entrepreneurs? And you're like, every week, go to coffee with one person that you see interesting in the entrepreneurial world. And that was like my input. I'm like, Jesus, that's so easy, so easy. So yeah, it can be applied to everything, right?
Everything. And once you master, because once you have the mindset shift, you start seeing in everything, but then you have to optimize the system of a whole, the system of you, right? How does your, let's say, personal development system relate to your relationship system, and how both help you in your business, which is why what we help you do, right? So if I want to get this in business, I probably need to meet this kind of people, and I need to probably learn this kind of skills, and probably my health needs to be on point because I'm probably not performing at the level I should. So if you had to, discuss your transformation after, just a few months with us, now, how would you describe it? What changed in terms of how you see everything and the things you actively do that give you the results you now have?
Before, I want to touch on this too, is like before I always thought of like I had to do one thing to get one output. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like a system-based thing. It was like, all right, I need to work here to only work on here. Now I got to run over here and do this. So I'm kind of like juggling or like spinning plates. When you stack your system together, you can do one thing and now it will flood through multiple goals. And I'll give you an example. When I first started talking this, I mentioned my sleep was terrible for years, right? It's a combination of just stress and all these things, I thought, but really it came down to what my system was for sleeping. I didn't have a protocol where, I would, start toning it down an hour before. No phones, like drinking some calming tea and getting some sleep vitamins in there. So I started doing this. I designed the system around it. But then the last hour, no phone, I read my Kindle book. And I'm only reading books that are interesting to me to apply to my business. So I'm learning. But I can only keep my eyes open for like 20 minutes. So at the end, my sleep is now in the 80s. It used to, I use Aura to track it, and it used to be in like the 60s, 65s. But so two things are impacted here. It's like, number one, my sleep is significantly more because I just read my Kindle, but then the knowledge I'm getting at night, I now have more ammunition to try strategies in my business in the next day by just 20 minutes. So like, that's a really good example of like, if you design well-designed systems that go to your goal, you don't have to only do one thing for one thing. You can do one thing that attacks many different goals.
So true. This is the concept of optimizing the system of you and how to become inevitable by, adjusting every single part that will help you get to that vision. And now you have 2 business and a half or 3 business already, and you are moving blazingly fast on those 3 at the same time. Most people don't really move fast ever with just one business. So this is obviously working, right?
Yeah.
And the thing I'm most happy about what we do, mate, is how, it's a permanent transformation. It's like, dude, you're never going back to your old ways, right?
Never.
It's like, now, dude, I'm just gonna start seeing everything as an event again. Like, I just don't I'm just gonna live like a harder life. That's never gonna happen, right?
No, never.
Got it. Who would you say, because we work with a small number of people a year, so we vet a lot, but who do you think this is for, right? What kind of entrepreneur, founder do you believe Selfmastered is for?
Well, one thing before I jump into that is the other thing I really appreciate about, just you in general, not just like the course, but like, there's a part, I know you remember, like when I first moved to Madrid, I was like, my systems went to shit, right? Just because I was moving every like month, it felt like, and it was like, I didn't have routines. Like I didn't have my gym, didn't have anything. And so I fell really deep into like, just really bad, like mental state, because I didn't have my system set up. But you reached out to me and you like got on a call with me and you're like pushing me through that and you're helping me through that. And even though, that was not part of the program, you proactively reached out to me. So that meant a lot to me. And so it's not just having like an amazing program, but also having an amazing coach behind it, knowing that like, shit, I can lean on you when shit is really hard. And I didn't even think it was part of the program, but like, so that it meant a lot to me that you reached out. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you, mate. Well, I told you, I see myself literally as I see you as the Michael Jordan of the industry. And my role is to make sure that you fulfill that potential. So how we structure things is the goal is just not to train you for a few months and give you a very good program and give you a tool that you manage yourself. It's like, dude, are you slacking? Are you going through a hard time? What do we need to do together? Because, dude, I'm in the business of making you successful. And sometimes things just go the way exactly we need. But sometimes you just move to a different country. You don't find a house like it happened to you. It's just complicated. All systems go out of whack. But you're Michael Jordan. So I need to make sure that you consistently perform at the level you have already proven to yourself that you can perform. Because also, this revenue month that you shared with us, that was in the middle of like a maelstrom of moving to Madrid, not really finding it. Was your personal life was not in the best situation. So that proves the fact that you could create a system that worked without your personal system being perfect.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, just going back to who this program would be good for. I mean, obviously, every entrepreneur, I think entrepreneurs have it hard because they're juggling so many things. It's like we're constantly getting smacked in the face with like failures in our business. So knowing how to manage those failures is hands down number one, and not going down. It's like you remove this program and your coaching removes the emotional just drainage of failures, because failure is not a reflection of you, which most people think. You're like, oh, I'm not good, I'm not worth it, I can't do it. It's just a reflection of the system you put in. And so when you remove yourself and it's objective, like, oh, it's just a system, then you're just tinkering with the system. And there's no chance that you'll perfect the system on try one, because you're developing a custom system based on your business. So that's hands down, all entrepreneurs should do it. Now, it goes a level deeper, because once you start growing a business, you're going to have leadership in your business. So every one of those people needs some type of framework on how to maximize their time, maximize their happiness. Because when you have happy employees, you have people who can accomplish 10 times more in 4 hours. You don't need them working 8 hours a day. You can have them working 3, 4, 5 hours and still outproducing the average person who's doing 8 hours. And so it's an investment into learning yourself how to manage your personal relationships, your mental health, your businesses, but then that can be then translated and taught to everyone under you, to your wife, to your children, to all your employees. So it's one of those integral things that, like, yes, I think all entrepreneurs need it, but at its core, everyone needs this type of training, because it's not just applied to entrepreneurs. I'll use it and apply it to my business, because as an entrepreneur, I'm like, I'm passionate, addicted to growing businesses, and I can see how it applies to everything.
I love that you say that, because that is so true. Because when you don't think like this, life is just an ordeal. It's just a random collection of fuck ups that happen to you. You don't really know how to navigate, right? But once you, as you just said, if I'm getting an outcome that I don't want, is because there's no system behind it. So how do I expect to get what I want if I have not done the things that I needed to do and optimize over time? So I really like it. And I drive my fiance nuts with the systems thinking. Every time we need to, now we're getting married, and the system of my wedding, you must imagine how's that coming along, right?
Oh my God. So romantic.
All the suppliers are driving them nuts. But dude, that's how you make it efficient. That's how you get what you want. Awesome. Hanson, I'm absolutely honored to have you in the mastermind in Selfmastered. It's been an honor to help you all of these months, but dude, we're still working together. So really, thank you for jumping in. Any final parting thought? If someone is considering it, what would you tell them?
I think even when I first hopped on a call with you, just like an exploratory call where we found if we were a good fit, that was one of the most impactful and helpful. Like, I think we met for an hour, but it was so helpful. So if you're even considering, just set up a call with Leon just to explore more. He's the kind of person that you're definitely the kind of person that would just provide as much value as you possibly can in the amount of time you spend together. So anyone's on the fence, even if you don't buy the program, you're going to have immense value from and actionable steps walking away from like the first 30-minute or hour call with Leon. So just book a call.
Awesome, mate. Thank you very much. Again, honored to have you in the program. So see you around the community, and let's set the next quarter roadmap, right? Let's keep winning.
All right, brother. Yeah, I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you, man. Have a good one. Cheers.
Bye.